Good afternoon, everyone. I am Oviru Korea, Assistant Professor of Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning, Haldia Institute of Technology. So today we will start a topic. It's called as a deep learning. So first, we have to understand that is the types of the deep learning techniques. So the first technique, it's basically called as a ANN or the artificial neural network. So the artificial neural network. So artificial neural network is responsible for doing the task of both regression, it's called as a regression, and the classification. And the classification. And what is regression and the what is classification? I am assuming that each and every student have done this kind of knowledge from the machine learning subject. So next we have, it's called as a CNN or the convolutional neural network. So the convolutional neural network is responsible for doing the task related to the images and the videos. Images and the videos. It's called as a images and the videos. So what kind of task we can do it? So according to the images, we can do the object detection task. We can do the object detection task, or we can do the image segmentation task, or we can do the image segmentation task. So using the CNN, we can do the object detection as well as we can do the object segmentation. So for the object detection, we basically have several kind of CNN architecture. So the first one is called as a RCNN. It's called as a RCNN. Next we have the masked CNN. It's called as a masked. It's called as a masked CNN. And next we have the detectron. It's called as a detectron. Okay. And we can do the image segmentation also using the CNN. For doing the image segmentation, we have the library called YOLO version 5, version 6, version 7, and so on. This is also the YOLO is also the architecture that is other architecture of the CNN. And the next we have, it's called as a RNN. It's called as the recurrent neural network. And the recurrent neural network is responsible for doing the task related to the NLP, related to the NLP, that means the natural language processing, as well as the time series forecasting. It's called the time series forecasting. This kind of task we can do using the artificial neural network. So again, we have the artificial neural network, we have the convolutional neural network, and we have the recurrent neural network. If we have the data, something like images of the videos, then any kind of task related to the images and the videos, we can do the CNN. And if we have the natural language processing kind of task or the time series forecasting kind of task, we can use it the RNN. And for the ANN is same as like the machine learning. So using the artificial neural network, we can do any task related to the machine learning. That means in using the machine learning, we can do the regression as well as the classification, same as like the machine learning. We can do the artificial neural network using the artificial neural network. Okay. So next we have to understand what is called the single layer perceptron. It's called as a single single layer perceptron. It's called a single layer perceptron. Okay. So with the help of the example, we will try to understand. So first we have to understand a data set. So the data set we have basically we have a student IQ and the study hour, study hour. That means we what we want to do, we want to classify the student. That means he or she will get fail or the pass by using the data called IQ and the study hour. And we will try to outcome the output as fail or pass. Okay. So for the IQ, if anyone have 95 and the student um, per day study hour is 3 hours, so he will get fail. Now another student, if he or she have the IQ 100, and if he able to study 5 hours, so he or she will get pass. Next we have IQ is 120, and if he or she is able to do at least 4 hour regularly, study 4 hour regularly, then we can then he or she can get pass. Okay, so I have the data set something like this one. Okay, now how we can represent it, this data set, using the artificial neural network, here I am discussing. So we have a processing unit. This one is called as a neuron, and in the neuron we are giving two inputs. In the neuron we are giving two inputs. So first one is the IQ, I am representing as a x1, and next we have the another input, it's called as a study hour, and here we are giving it as a x2. Okay, now from here, from the processing unit, we are getting the output that he or she will get fail or the pass. It is called as a y. Okay, now you have to understand another thing. For each and every input, we basically have the associated weights, that is called as a W1 and the W2. Not only this input and not only this weight, we have another input, something called like bias, for the generalization. Okay. Now you have to understand in detailed manner the processing unit or the heart of the neuron, or the single layer perceptron. Okay. So here I am dividing these two into two parts. First one I am giving the name as step one, and the next step we are giving it as a step 2. Okay, in the step 1 what we are basically doing, we were trying to calculate the z, and here in the step 2 we are passing this z to the activation function. Okay, now everyone will able to understand if I elaborate all these things in a very detailed manner. Okay, now what is the z? We can calculate the z by using the formula with, we are multiplying x1 with the w1 plus x2 with the w2 plus the bias. This is the formula for the z. So how we can calculate the z? So we have x1 w1 plus x2 w2 plus the bias. Okay. Now the next step. So we have completed the step 1. Okay. In the step 2, what we are basically doing? In the step 2, we will try to take this value z between 0 and the 1. Why it is 0 and the 1? Here you can see our outcome is lying between 0 and the 1. It's between, or it's 0 or it's 1. So in the step 2, what we are basically doing, we are applying some kind of mathematical function. By using the mathematical function, we will try to take the value z between 0 and the 1. Between 0 and the 1. It's called as a activation function. Okay. So here, the first layer, it's called as an input layer. Why? Because we are giving the input here, so it's called as an input layer. Okay. Next, here it is the processing unit, and you can't see it from the outside. What is the processing it's basically doing? So here we are telling it as a output hidden layer. We can tell it as a hidden layer, and the final output from where we are got the output or get the output, it's called as a output layer. Okay, so if the question will come in this way, that is explain the single layer perceptron, then you have to explain it in this using this kind of examples. Okay, so we have understood the input layer, we have understood the hidden layer, we have understood the output layer, we have understood the weights, we have understood the bias. This kind of things we have understood, and same as like that the activation function. Okay, so this one is called as a single layer perceptron. Okay, now we will try to understand the step 1 in very deeply manner. So the step 1 is what? The step 1 is something like z equals to z equals to uh, summation of summation of I equals to 1 to n wi xi plus bias. So what is this? What is this? I have already discussed, but I have written it in a generalized form. So maybe you are not able to understand. So here you try to understand it. So what we are basically doing? We are doing the summation here. Here we are doing the summation. So what we have done? Write the summation. Now here we have x1 w1 x2 w2. Maybe it will go to the xn and wn. So here we will write it as a here we will write it as a I equals to 1 I equals to 1 to n. Now here you can represent the x1 and the w1 in this way. That is the xi wi plus the bias term plus the bias term. So the same formula we have written in this way. Okay. In the more better way, if we write it in this way, that is bias plus w1 x1 plus w2 x2. In this way, it can go to wn and the xn. Okay. Now it is same as like you are able to recall it or not. It is same as like the straight line formula y equals to mx plus c. Okay. So what is the meaning of y equals to mx plus c? So y equals to beta 0. You can represent it as a bias plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 up to it will go beta n xn. Okay. So you can see it is same as like the formula of the z with the y. That means it is same as like the straight line formula. So that kind of problem we can tell it as a linear problem. It's called as a linear problem. Okay. So what does it mean by the linear problem? That means if you have some kind of data point, something like this one, then is something like star, something like star, and you have the bubble, short bubble. Okay. Now, if I tell you, try to divide this star and the bubble with a single line or the straight line. You are able to do it by using a straight line. Okay. So the straight line is what? The straight line is the formula of this one, or you can tell it as a z. So in the first step, what we are doing, we are just creating a straight line, and this straight line is basically called as a perceptron 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 linear classifier. Linear, so perceptron is linear classifier. Okay, understood? So using the perceptron, single layer perceptron, we can divide we can divide the two symbols, that is and the star and the bubble. Okay, understood? Next we will try to understand another important thing. It's called as linearly separable and the non-linear separable. So what does it mean by the linear separable? As same as like the previous example, if you have the data point something like star and the bubble and the some kind of bubbles if you have, and if I tell you by using a straight line, try to divide it, you are able to do it. You are smoothly able to do it. So by using the single line, if I am able to separate this star and the bubble, then it is called as a linear separable. It's called as a linear separable. Okay. Now, what is called as a nonlinear separable? The nonlinear separable is something like if you have the star in this pattern and and the bubble in this pattern and bubble in this pattern. So in a mixed mode way. So using any kind of straight line, you are not able to solve or not able to divide it in any kind of linear line. So that one is called as a nonlinear separable problem. It's called as a nonlinear separable problem. Okay. So what is the nonlinear separable problem? That is the a problem by using a single line or by using a straight line. If I am not able to do it, it's called as a nonlinear separable. And if with the help of a string as a straight line, if I am able to divide it, it's called as a linear separable. Okay, so so using the single layer perceptron, using a single layer perceptron, we can solve the linear separable problems by using the linear separable problems. For the nonlinear separable problem, we have another architecture of the artificial neural network. It's called as a multi-layer perceptron. It's called as a multi-layer perceptron. It's called as a multi-layer perceptron. By using the multi-layer perceptron, we can solve the problem of the nonlinear separable problems.